Hello, YouTube friends. This is my first Norwegian Cruise Line experience vlog, vacation log that I went on October 10th, 2015 through October 17th, 2015. And I'm kind of going to take you through the studio lounge that I stayed in, which was a fun experience. It's kind of unique to Norwegian Cruise Lines. And I'll give you a review of my experience with the cruise as well as the onboard excursions that I did. There's so much that I'm going to go through in the next hour here. So this will be a very long video. So I hope that you take something from it that is useful to you. And then feel free to give me feedback and comments. And I hope to do more of these vacation logs, really just so that I can reminisce in the future as to my own experiences, but also if any of this helps you in your own vacation planning or in your consideration of different vacation options, then that's a real bonus. So what you're looking at here is the studio lounge area where if you are staying in one of the studio lounge cabins, then you have access to this exclusive area that has its own bar, it has its own wine section, as well as this bar opening here that you see from 5 to 7 p.m. And there's a TV screen where on the cruise I was able to watch the Dallas Cowboys and the New England Patriots game. I know it's sad for the Cowboys, but anyway, you can see there's TVs in this room as well as a cappuccino machine where you can stop for breakfast and grab a pastry if you wanted to avoid some of the crowds and the lines, or you can play a game of chess, Monopoly with your studio solo traveler cabin mates. The other interesting aspect of this ship here is the studio cabins are about 99 square feet. So fairly small, but I actually thought that staying in the cabin itself was actually a lot of fun because you had your own solo coordinator, Jessica, and she did a good job in putting together different activities for solos to mix and mingle as much as you wanted or as little as you wanted. And if you're wanting to go on a cruise and you don't have or you don't want a travel partner, then Norwegian's solo studio cabins are a very attractive option. The ship itself was as expected as far as expectations, with the hot tubs, and the people that I met were generally very friendly, and it was a good experience in the sense that the weather was good. The onboard entertainment staff worked pretty hard to keep you entertained, and it was actually quite relaxing, as well as it was entertaining because I enjoyed all the offshore excursions and the activities that were planned off the ship, as well as the many different activities that were on the ship. For the most part, there really wasn't a hard time getting one of the lounge chairs on the decks outside or finding a spot at the bar. It was somewhat crowded on the ship, and I thought that maybe the layout of the ship, in the way that they had designed the Norwegian Getaway, could possibly be improved because the kids section, as you can see, was laid parallel with the adult side. And I thought that maybe if they had simply expanded the adult section and really did away with the extensive kids section that they had, I thought maybe there was more of the kids section than was really necessary for the layout of the ship. What you're looking at here is just as we were exiting on the first day from the port of call from Port Miami, and you can see it was just a nice kind of view looking outside. And the different ports of call that we went through were St. Thomas and St. John on the first port of call, and then we also went through Tortola, which is the British Virgin Islands, whereas St. Thomas is the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we also stopped off at Nassau, Bahamas. So my fare was $7.99 US dollars for a studio room for a solo cruiser for 7 days in the Eastern Caribbean with the U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, and the Bahamas. And my cruise fare included an unlimited drinks package promotion that was in effect, so that made this a very high value for the money spent from my perspective because each mixed drink or Wells drink was around $12 with tip. So and beers were around $7 or $8 with tip. So as you can just do the math, the cost of the drinks do add up. But I thought for 7 days to spend that little money, including alcoholic beverages, was a very high value for the money.
I want to see everybody put those hands up in the air. Hey, ole, ole, ole. Everybody, put those hands up in the air. Feeling hot, hot, hot. There you go. Shake it, shake it, shake it like a salt shaker. Come on, right with your birthday princess. We're gonna dance. Come on down here. All right, we got a big shout out. Happy birthday to our birthday princess. Magda, give her a nice round of applause. Everybody say happy birthday, Magda. Come on, mommy, shake it. Shake it. Ah. Bring your people in here. Come on, point it up. All right, keep on dancing, ladies and gentlemen. Keep on dancing. Let's go. Come on now, folks. Come on now. Remember, you're not going to be here for a long time, just for a short time. You're on vacation.
You can also see that the atmosphere on the ship was very festive, and the entertainment staff really tried hard to find ways to keep you smiling and moving around and active and having a good time. So the getaway sail party was not as well attended as I would have expected. Certainly not like what I'm used to seeing with Disney's characters and the kind of excitement that Disney is able to magically put together and make it happen. But for the most part, I thought that the sail away party met my expectations and it was okay and really wasn't too bad. For the first port, for the first time that we got off the ship, I chose to do the Champagne Cat and Sail. So that's the Champagne Catamaran and Sail on St. Thomas, which is a U.S. Virgin Island. As a matter of fact, as we got off the ship and went to St. Thomas, we actually, the catamaran, as part of the itinerary, took us all the way to St. John. So that was actually just as nice because it kind of gave you the opportunity to see not just one island in the US side of the Virgin Islands, but also St. John. So I saw both St. Thomas and St. John exiting the ship, the first port of call being St. Thomas. So you can see here the line to get off the ship was fairly long, but as for the excursions, they were moving along at a pretty good clip. So the Champagne Cat and Sail was actually a lot of fun. To get there, we took a short little bus ride, and this first part of the clip shows you the Harley Davidson store. I was kind of surprised, but Harley Davidson seems to be at a lot of these islands, which was kind of surprising to me given how dangerous or just how scary some of these roads were from my perspective as someone who lives in Dallas, Texas. And I ride a Harley and I ride a motorcycle pretty much every day, year round. So I was thinking, wow, you have to really be very brave to survive riding on these islands. And I certainly wasn't up for anything that adventurous. So you can see quite a few people wanted to do this Champagne Cat and Sail. When I chose this excursion, it was the same process that I went through in choosing all my excursions. So what I did was even before day one, I looked through all the reviews on ncl.com on the website. They were nicely organized, and I was able to see what kind of things people chose. So that really helped out in picking and choosing what activities to do on the shore. So with this excursion, I strongly recommend it. I had a lot of fun. The catamaran definitely rocked quite a bit. So as we were moving, if you have any kind of motion sickness issues, then I would advise against doing this excursion because you were definitely moving and rocking quite a bit on the catamaran. And I saw several people had those Dramamine patches, but in spite of that, I mean, we definitely took on some water. So be aware that taking these little boats, taking these cats out on the water, you're gonna get rocky, and it is going to potentially jostle you around and make you feel kind of queasy or motion sick. But for the most part, there were lots of Americans and some Europeans, a lot of people having fun, getting out there and enjoying the sun, enjoying the water, and wanting to go snorkel and take a look at everything that St. Thomas and St. John had to offer in the ocean. So that part was actually quite a bit of fun. I know shore excursions aren't for everybody, and they certainly aren't cheap because you've already paid so much money to take the cruise that it's kind of disheartening to do another excursion on top of that. But I strongly recommend it because it gets boring to just be on the ship for 7 days. So you definitely want to get out there, go enjoy some rum punch.
Kevin, give it up for Kevin. Get to know these guys. They will be your best friends by the end of the trip. Because we are a U.S. Coast Guard regulated and inspected vessel, it means we got a bunch of really good stuff on board in case any of the bad stuff were to happen. So, by law, I am told to go over that stuff with you real quick. We got a VHF radio, tune in channel 16. It's right up there. Anything happens to me or my crew simultaneously somehow, maybe we all get beamed up like Star Trek. You guys hop on that thing, you say, Mayday, 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 bring more champagne, bring more rum. Got it? Got it? Cool, we're on the same page. We got two fire extinguishers here. We got one down below by my bathroom, my marina. We're going to go over that in a second. One down below my crew only section of the boat. Two fire buoy systems in the engine room compartments. If anyone smells, detects, or starts a fire, let us know.
Yeah, and it was actually hard to believe that they had fire extinguishers on board, but they did, because you never know, even a boat can catch on fire out in the water, even though there's lots of water all around you. So the captain here for the boat did a really good job in navigating, and he was very informative. He was funny. The staff on the Champagne Cat and Sail were very friendly, and it was actually a really beautiful day to get out for a sail. And if you wanted, you could even go up. In fact, a kid went up there and shared the captain's spot. They were very courteous and generous, and if you wanted to go for a try in spinning the steering wheel and actually piloting the cat for a couple of knots or a couple of miles, you could do that. So that was kind of a neat gesture. That was kind of nice. These guys really went out of their way to make you feel comfortable, and it was actually a lot of fun. Just getting out there and enjoying the breeze, enjoying the water, enjoying the opportunity that this catamaran provided in getting out and looking at this beautiful island, looking at all the greenery, and looking at all that St. Thomas and St. John had to offer. So that was actually very exciting. There's some interesting information on fedors.com if you want to read up on St. Thomas versus St. John. So, for example, St. Thomas is the more urban island. So they're both beautiful, but St. Thomas is more developed, and there's more houses, and you can see there's a lot more boats. Whereas St. John is essentially a national park, but unfortunately the non-national part of the park is actually developing. So the national park is very beautiful and has nice beaches. There's supposed to be really good snorkeling there, even for a beginner. And Trunk Bay, which is essentially where we were heading here on this catamaran sail excursion, is supposed to be very good for beginning swimmers. Now, I personally have snorkel issues where I'm trying to get the snorkel on, and it's disheartening because just in a few seconds, water starts to seep into my snorkel mask and starts to well up right by my eyes. So I tried the Vaseline, I tried different things, but I've always had snorkel issues, unfortunately. Now, St. John used to be a sleepy, very kind of laid back Caribbean island, but it's starting to liven up. St. John is also supposed to be the more expensive of the two islands if you're going to go traveling. As far as shopping, a lot of people like to go to these Virgin Islands, and you can find a lot of deals on jewelry and cosmetics and electronics at St. Thomas. There's also nice beaches and restaurants, and And typical kind of activities that you might find on mainland, you can really find on St. Thomas, because in many ways, it's part of the United States. It's a U.S. Virgin Island, so you can find pretty much anything that you're looking for. So that's really nice. But when you're out here, really the whole idea is to get out on a boat, get out on a catamaran and or a ferry, and then go explore Cruise Bay, go explore the beautiful waters, and then check out some of the dining. If you're going to be here for more than a day, and you can see you can see what the nightlife looks like. You can see how beautiful and how calm everything is. But for me, I was only here through a shore excursion, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to expand out here. But while I was here, I had a chance to look through, and you can see the waters are so clear. You can see the corals right down. There's a little bit of seaweed, which was par for the course, but you can see the turquoise, just such gorgeous water as you were able to, as we were sailing past it, and eventually when we came to a stop and we were looking down, you could really see right through the beautiful waters, which is very nice. Apparently, there are over 70 varieties of stinging jellyfish, and those are just the stinging ones, so it's highly recommended that you don't snorkel alone. And those 70 species of stinging jellyfish exist just in the Caribbean, so hopefully that's not going to throw too many people off. I have never been stung by a jellyfish, and I certainly did not want to experience it. On the catamaran, the captain said, "Oh, you've got nothing to worry about, it just stings like a bee sting." Now, I've never really been stung by a bee that I know of, and again, it's not something that I wanted to experience for the first time, certainly not in the islands on a vacation.
You guys, comes with a job. That's a nice perk right there. Protected waters out in front, it's right on Honeymoon Beach, secluded from everyone else. 25 years she has that job locked up.
Oh.
Yeah, put your applications in today before you leave. Y'all got a Louis Vuitton inspired bulletproof snorkel vest, right?
Trunk Bay, where we went, is actually the most famous spot on St. John for snorkeling, according to travelandvogue.com. And actually, this has the world's most beautiful beaches in Trunk Bay. And there's a 650-foot underwater snorkeling trail with signs to identify marine life. So that's some interesting facts out there. You can take a boat out to Flanagan's Cay off the southeastern coast. They're supposed to be some of the best snorkeling spots on the island. Unfortunately, in our excursion, we didn't do anything like that, but we did see some marine life. There's some hard and soft corals, some sea fans and sponges. What I did not see any parrotfish or trumpetfish, but I did see stingrays. I did see a little bit of blue tang and a little bit of angelfish, but I didn't see some of the lobsters and hawksbill turtles and eagle rays that other people saw. Especially turtles, I didn't see any, but just as we were all getting back on board the catamaran, some people from our excursion did actually see turtles, although I didn't see any turtles. Also, when I got back to the cruise ship, I talked to a couple who went on a comparable but different shore excursion, and on their boat, they actually perhaps didn't have as much fun as we did on the boat with all the drinking and dancing and whatnot, but they were able to see turtles, and they saw a lot more in the water than what I necessarily experienced and what I saw from the Champagne Cat and Sail. But I have no complaints with my overall experience. Also, I would say the reviews for this particular excursion were outstanding. As you can see from TripAdvisor, these guys had gotten 5-star reviews, and I would also agree that my experience was very similar, and I would also give these guys a very high rating, and I'd recommend this excursion.
As much rum punch as you want, my friend. If you feel like that's what you want. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Give me all you got, don't hold it back. I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you. Champagne all the way over. Birthday? Alright, happy birthday. October 4th, so we're leaving together. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch.
It was starting to get boring just hanging out on the ship for a couple of days, but it was a really nice welcome treat to get on the Champagne Cat and sail after a couple of days being cooped up on the ship and really kicking off the port excursions, kicking off the visit of St. Thomas and St. John. So I hope you guys would consider this excursion as well. This is the view coming off of the excursion bus back to the cruise ship and back to really where all the shops are at the port at St. Thomas. So there's some interesting facts that I learned about St. Thomas, and here's some things that you should also know. And these you can find on USVIpressroom.com. But Charlotte Amalie is the largest historical town in the United States, and that's the capital of the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it's located in St. Thomas. So rich history. It's the preferred shopping spot on the island, and it's actually quite beautiful. And the historical, official, original pronunciation is actually Charlotte Amalie. So it's spelled Amalie, but it's actually pronounced Amalia. So that's kind of interesting. Also, the U.S. Virgin Islands has been a shopping destination since 1607. So I thought that was kind of interesting because this was originally in 1607 the Jamestown settlers who built the first successful English settlement in North America stopped off in Charlotte Amalie to stock up on supplies. So that's how the Virgin Islands really kind of got started. And it's also, this is the only place in the United States where you can drive on the left side of the road. And even though the islands are considered part of the United States, there's still a few rules and customs that date back to the days of early European rule. So that was also interesting. And finally, Point Udall is the easternmost point in the United States. And there's a Millennium Monument that was built above that point in 2000. But the easternmost point of the United States can be found in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. Also, St. Croix has the largest agriculture fair in the Caribbean. And it's a 3-day festival that showcases locally grown produce. And I saw some signs related to that were in there. The next AgriFest will take place in February 19th through 21. There's also an underwater national park off the coast of St. John. And I mentioned that earlier in the video, but that underwater trail is in Trunk Bay. And also St. John is considered one of the best places to snorkel in the Caribbean. And there's markings for underwater signs. And all levels of swimmers are able to snorkel here, making it perfect for the entire family. Here, I'm just going to take us on a tour of the ship, and you can see Forward 7 lobby. This is the part of the ship where a lot of the fun stuff was happening. You can just kind of see the different aspects of what's on this level. The navigation, once you went from floor to floor, or I should really say deck to deck on the ship, was very easy to get around. Really, after the first day, you didn't need to have the onboard daily, which is the newspaper that they handed out for you, that they left at your stateroom, that kind of explained the layout of the ship and all the things that are going on. Once you started walking around and exploring, it was extremely easy to get around. People were pretty friendly, and you could really ask anyone if you kind of felt lost, which should have been pretty rare because it was easy to get around. There really wasn't much motion sickness issues on the ship. It was very stable. The engine stabilizers have come a long way. This was also a fairly large, somewhat new ship in the sense that it had the gross tonnage on this ship is 150,000, and the overall length it's about 1,068 feet. This ship has diesel electric engines and goes at a 22.5 knots cruise speed and holds double occupancy 3,969 guests with a fairly large crew complement of 1,640. Lots of dining options. There were 27 dining options, 22 bars and lounges on the ship with around-the-clock room service and tax and duty-free shops. I didn't find a whole lot of bargains in the tax and duty-free shops, but I liked the neighborhood bars. There was an Irish bar, O'Sheehan's. where they served some American fare and a good Irish beer. So I enjoyed that particular bar. They had internet cafes and teen lounges, Splash Academy Youth Center, of course, fitness center, aqua park, and a generous sized spa and salons. The box office was also pretty good. The one thing that I was somewhat disappointed in was when you sat down at the seating inside the theaters, there was like this wooden platform or some sort of hardwood at the rear portion of each seat, so that really made for very uncomfortable seating in the theaters. I've never really experienced that kind of issue before, so that was somewhat unfortunate. But for the most part, I really enjoyed the shows. And as for the shows, I found that there were some paid shows that I really did not enjoy as much, but I really did enjoy the free entertainment. I would say, as an overall experience, this cruise for me, including the food, the drink, the entertainment on board, the offshore excursions, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, which is better than average, but not outstanding. I would say that the food on the ship was a 7 out of 10. The excursions were an 8 out of 10. The onboard entertainment, I would say, was an 8 out of 10. As for the onboard entertainment, the one thing I didn't like was that you had to choose and make reservations in advance, even before boarding, unless you wanted to risk your event from being sold out, and then you would have nothing to do that evening as far as main off-Broadway show-style entertainment in the theater. So that was somewhat unnerving that you had to have that organization, you had to have that planning if you wanted to enjoy the evening activities. Of the activities that they had on the Norwegian Getaway, the free events that I enjoyed, I really enjoyed the Legally Blonde musical. It was outstanding, especially for a free event. They did a really outstanding job. I also enjoyed the Burn the Floor, which was a Latin dance choreographed musical. That was also a lot of fun. There was no verbiage, there was no talking or dialogue, so but in spite of that, I thought the choreography and the dance was outstanding. And finally, as for free events, I really enjoyed the comedy shows. They called them Levity. And so the Levity comedy shows, they had a few different comics on board, Rodney and a few others, but he was outstanding. And as for cruise ship comics go, there were two that were really good, and one, the guy who was essentially the headliner, the opener, he was average. He wasn't all that great. As for the paid entertainment, I would give the paid entertainment a 6 out of 10. So I was somewhat disappointed. It was better than just average, but it was still somewhat disappointing given the fact that they were paid. There were two paid events that I participated in. There were only two that I know of that I can remember, and one was a wine lovers musical, and that was in the Illusionarium. I would have to give that a 7 out of 10 simply because they went through a lot of effort, and I thought that the Illusionarium itself was really nicely decorated. They'd obviously put a lot of thought into the way they presented that, but the actual magic show, the Illusionarium magic show, I thought was better than the Wine Lovers musical. The Wine Lover musical, you had 6 glasses of wine and a fairly cheesy musical comedy kind of presentation that I would say was a 6 out of 10. So 6 out of 10 for the Wine Lovers, 7 out of 10 for the Illusionarium. And in addition to that, as far as onboard entertainment, I was disappointed in the solo organized social events. So the organized social events were essentially dinner or meeting up essentially at the same bar every other night. And I had gone in expecting for more active organization like tennis or volleyball or even just meeting up in the morning to talk about shore excursions, but I didn't really see that happen in the way that I'd expected it to happen. But I do like the concept, and I'd encourage Norwegian to continue to improve the solo program and for other cruise lines to get on board. Because if you're traveling solo, it's worth trying this solo cruise experience. And if you're a social butterfly, and if you're all about being optimistic and having a good time, checking out new bars, meeting people, taking in the nightly show, checking out the off-Broadway entertainment, seeing all these various comedians perform, then you're going to have a good time. And if you go in with a glass half full mentality and you're naturally easy to please, then you're going to have a lot of fun on this cruise. So that aspect of it definitely resonated for me, and I really enjoyed that aspect. These guys who performed in the dark comedy venue setting that you're looking at here shows the magic shows that they had at the end of the night, and this wasn't part of the overall Illusionarium, which was the true ultimate magic show performance. That was a paid performance, paid event that you had to have reservations and you had to buy a ticket for. It really wasn't that you're looking at here, because the paid Illusionarium event could not be photographed. So a lot of the things that I kind of described here in this video, I was not able to take video or photography for obvious reasons, for the safety of the performers and the rules of the cruise ship, so I had to respect that. But what you're looking at here are some of the opening scenes, the opening credits for the magic show, and it was okay. It really wasn't too bad. There was a lot of levitation that was featured, so that was interesting. And some of these magicians did a lot of mentalist kind of tactics or techniques. So it was certainly interesting if you go in with an open mind and you weren't expecting to be blown away by real magic, then you would have enjoyed this and you would have had a good time. So I did enjoy that aspect of it. In Tortola, I did the party bus tour for my shore excursion, and Tortola is in the British Virgin Islands.
Much better than money? More money.
The Tortola party bus tour is really the best way to see the entire island of Tortola. And I chose this excursion based on the reviews that were out there on ncl.com. And it was a lot of fun because the driver was hilarious. He was walking around swinging a bottle of rum, swinging a bottle of Fireball cinnamon whiskey, and he kept saying fire water, and holy water, and he was liberally pouring that, before we started the bus tour, and at each of the stops, he was generously pouring that out, and we were all having a good time. And also, I enjoyed sitting next to a couple from St. Louis, gentleman and his wife, and so enjoyed hanging out with them the entire time while I was on the island of Tortola. It was a nice long tour. We had lots of stops, lots of potty breaks, and lots of opportunities to hop out of the bus and take pictures. So some interesting facts about this island of Tortola. First of all, so it's a British Virgin Island. So the national flag of the United Kingdom is the Union Jack, is the national flag, and it's called that because it combines the crosses of the three countries united under one sovereign. So it's the kingdoms of England and Wales, of Scotland, and of Ireland. So very interesting. The national anthem, of course, is God Save the Queen, the British national anthem back from the 18th century. And the territorial song for the British Virgin Islands is actually called Oh Beautiful Virgin Islands. And that was officially adopted in the House of Assembly in 2013. These are some fun facts that you can also go and read up on bvitourism.com to learn more about the British Virgin Islands. The territorial dress is this very pretty kind of government of the Virgin Islands dress, and so you'll see a lot of the ladies wearing those territorial dresses here in the BVI, and the flower is the white cedar, and that's the official territorial flower that was chosen in July 2013. And you'll see those flowers and you'll see those trees out on the island. The colors that you'll see, the territorial colors for Tortola, are yellow, green, blue, white, and red. And they're chosen because the yellow represents the rising sun, the green represents the verdant hills, and the blue is the beautiful Caribbean Sea. And you can see in just some of these pictures, the sea is absolutely gorgeous. You can see right down to the bottom when swimming in this beautiful Caribbean Sea, right off Tortola, and it is just as beautiful as it is being shown here on your screen. And the white in the territorial colors is reflective of the beaches, beautiful white sand beaches, and the red represents the feisty nature of the Virgin Islands. So as part of the Tortola bus tour, not only were we treated to plenty of cinnamon fireball whiskey, rum, and all those things, but we also stopped off for a nice swim in beautiful, beautiful water in the Caribbean Sea, and there was also a complimentary lunch that was included. So it was a really nice kind of experience. I thought it was worth the cost. I would absolutely recommend the Tortola Party Bus Tour. The official language of the British Virgin Islands is English, and then followed by Spanish. So that was new to me. I did not realize that Spanish would have been the second official language. The legal system here is the English law, and the judicial branch is the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. So that's the way everything is set up. And the capital is named Road Town is the city. It's Road Town, Tortola. And Tortola is in fact the largest island of the British Virgin Islands. We've already seen the U.S. Virgin Islands earlier in this video with St. Thomas and St. John, and now here with this beautiful foliage, you're witnessing Tortola, which is the British Virgin Island, and it's the largest of the BVI, with a population of 29,151, and that's based on a 2009 census. The religions in this island, it's really the majority is Christianity, followed by Hinduism, as well as the Islamic faith, and then other. So the airport codes, there's actually 3 airports that go into this island, and there are EIS, NGD, and VIJ. So those are the different airports. And Tortola has one of the most prosperous economies in the Caribbean, which is surprising to me because from everything that I saw from the bus, it seemed as if it was poor in terms of the economy, but that's really not the case. Tourism and financial services are the highest income generators. In fact, the bus driver, as we were going on the tour, made a joke that what we call offshore accounts, they essentially call it's basically money that's making the island grow, and it's very much necessary for their health. So, he said, what we call money laundering, they call offshore banking. So, some sort of joke like that. And the banks that are really served here are the Bank of Nova Scotia, the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, and so forth. There's no sales tax, which is a nice thing. The monetary unit here is the US dollar, and they'll accept many major credit cards. And then people who drive under 30 days are not required to have a temporary driver's license. But if you're going to stay for more than 30 days, then you will be required to have a driver's license. When I got onto the different islands throughout the various ports of call, I didn't take my US passport with me. All you really need is the Norwegian Getaway Cruise card, as well as a US driver license to identify you, some sort of government photo ID, and you're all set. As far as voltage, the British Virgin Islands is actually 110/220 volts, so American visitors can use appliances without any adapter, so that's kind of nice. Overall, I enjoyed the bus tour. It was a little scary at times because, as you can see, the roads are very, very narrow, and I was quite frankly shocked that we didn't have any accidents. But somehow these people, they understand their size limitations, and when they drive carefully and they don't drive aggressively. So there's a lot of honking, as you would expect in other countries outside of the United States. So that was par for the course. But aside from all the honking and just driving kind of slow, there really wasn't much incident as far as driving. So there really wasn't too much to be worried about. All you had to do was sit back, enjoy the music, and oh, by the way, the music that you hear in this video, nothing was added after the fact. Any kind of audio that you hear that was native was recorded by the GoPro Hero. So the music that you hear was actually from the party bus in the beginning of this segment, and we actually had a lot of fun on the Tortola Party Bus tour, and I would definitely recommend this if you were considering it. The last island on the shore excursions was Nassau in the Bahamas. I've been to Nassau, Bahamas before, and so this was really not an entirely new experience for me. Here, I wanted to do parasailing, but unfortunately, because of the weather, that wasn't meant to be, so instead, I chose to do a Segway tour, which I strongly recommend, and I've enjoyed doing so in the United States.
Yeah, so you coach, you lean forward. The more you lean, the faster you go.
Anything goes wrong, my name is Bill. Okay? 1 second, my good man. Now, we're going to pass a waiver around for you folks to sign. Now, the waiver only simply states in short form that in the event you damage the Segway, folks, it's our fault. We take care of all repairs done to the bikes, okay? You bang them up, we fix them up. On the other hand, you bump or bruise or scratch yourselves, no worries, you take care of yourselves, okay? Once again, welcome everybody. Hoo-ha, hooray. Last off of the day.
These guys are the only Segway tour providers here on Nassau in the islands, and it's so much fun. If you've never been on a Segway before and you have fairly good balance and you're fairly coordinated and you're not accident prone and you don't have any major mobility issues, then definitely get on a Segway and experience all the joys of being on two wheels and using your balance entirely as the gyroscope to help propel yourself either forward or side to side or even backward on these amazing machines. I've had the luxury of being on a Segway several times in different tours and vacations that I've done in Texas and elsewhere. So for me, this was not the first time being on a Segway, and it was so much fun. The Nassau Beach and Waterfront Tour is essentially what you get to see here in Nassau when you do a Segway glide. And you'll get to glide right along the walkways that are lining Nassau Harbor. And the tour starts just a mile from the cruise ship port, and a van will drop you off.
$5 billion, and it's going to be one of the biggest casinos in the Caribbean. All right. Now, the purpose of that lighthouse on Paradise Island, back in the early 1817, wrecking was a big thing. Action wrecking was our number in the industry. What we do, we place fake lighthouses, mainly on rock islands and keys, causing the ships to wreck, mainly from Spain, taking all their gold in place. As you guys know, pirates are still from all the ancestors. But the first official governor of the Bahamas was a pirate. So that's every year we have a festival by the name of John Canoe. We use cowbells, goatskin drums. We dress up in and machetes and paper. All right, costume paper. Now to the left, I'm gonna go from left to right. The one to the left in the green bottle, that's called the Collect Rattler. If you guys don't like the taste of a beer, that one tastes more like a switcher, like a lemonade. All right, it has 2% alcohol. The one on the side of it's called the Gold. That's the strongest one. That has about 7.5% alcohol in it with a shot of Bacardi. That's for the men. That says to put the hair on the men's chest. Now the one in the middle we call the Collect. That's the premium. That is one with six gold medals.
So based on that explanation, everyone promptly hopped off their Segways and we were quickly inside that island bar. And we were greeted by a very friendly bartender lady, and she very nicely started preparing drinks. So I thought, okay, so the Bahama Mama was going to be, she said, 5 or 6 shots of liquor. And then she said the Bahama Papa is 7 shots of liquor. So I promptly did the only sensible thing since I was going to be on a Segway, and I ordered that Bahama Papa. And it was outstanding to say the least. So that helped me quickly get my mojo back, calmed all the nerves, and very quickly I was able to not only fraternize, but get back on that Segway and start zipping around that island and enjoy the last part of Nassau. It was a very fitting end to finishing the third and final port of call in the Bahamas. And it was a very fun time being on that Segway, and really wrapped up the islands. And I was ready to call this vacation a wrap. It was a lot of fun. 7 days was more than enough for a cruise, and 3 islands was the bare minimum that I would expect for a cruise of this length. The funny part was, shortly after we all had our drinks, we then went off to do these slalom races with our Segways. So we got together behind these orange cones, and we very quickly started zipping around them to see if we could do a race and to see who could finish the first. It was at this point that the gentleman got chucked off of his Segway. Not really sure what he did wrong there, but again, he suffered no major injuries to write home about. All in all, it was an awesome time and a fitting end to the stay at the Bahamas. So that wraps up the end of my vlog. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please leave me your feedback. I hope to get better at making these videos with my editing as I make more of these. And actually now we have some bonus footage with a friend that I made from Club Med a few years ago. So I'd like to introduce you to Delphine.
Hi Maxine, welcome to Miami. This is my friend Delphine. Hi Maxine.
So that was Delphine, a beautiful French girl whom I hope to meet again soon in one of my upcoming adventures in Europe. Stay tuned.